Welcome back to Loan Officer Success Live, and this is the Coach's Corner powered by Premier Lending. Your host, mortgage leader and business builder, Devin Dubuc, and the coach with the winning playbook, Rick Koenig. Together, they're bringing you real strategies, no fluff insights, and the exact steps to grow your mortgage business. Buckle up because this is Loan Officer Success Live. Coach, what's going on, brother?
It's a great day in Cincinnati. The temperature's above freezing.
I think it's a great day everywhere. This is actually one of the subjects of our conversation this morning, in the All-Star calls and actually on the morning show as well, which is just, projecting a positive mindset, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what? And, having a positive mindset is everything. When you go into every situation only looking for the positives, even when something doesn't go your way, it's still not a total loss. You can lose a deal, you can lose a realtor, but every time there's a situation, there's usually something better that you can make out of it. Maybe you got rid of that realtor that was such a pain in the butt that you were spending too much time with, that you should have fired him years ago, Yeah. So, looking for the positive in everything. And, our friend Irene DeFord, who was on today, just, brought that out.
But Irene was fantastic. And one of the things we talked about there too is one of my early mentors, used to always say, you bring about what you think about. Right.
Yeah. I love that.
I think that's such a powerful way of thinking because it's 100% true. If you're thinking about positive thoughts, you're going to have positive energy. And that's what you're going to project upon others. And positive things are just naturally going to come into your life. But if you're thinking about negative things, that's what you're going to see because your brain believes what you tell it, right? And that goes back to Rene Rodriguez talking about perception and realities. Whose perception are we talking about? Let me tell you something.
Perception is reality to the person that's perceiving it.
That's it, 100%. Yeah. So whose perception are we seeing? Well, if I'm a positive person, it's my perception. And that's the perception of reality that I want to live with, work with, be by. And I think more people want to be around people that are projecting things positively.
Yep. And, with what we're going to talk about today, perception being reality, in our case, visualizing what you're doing is the real reality of what you're doing. There's one person you can't lie to when you're looking at the real numbers, and that's yourself. Yeah. You can tell yourself if you're not measuring your success, if you're not looking at metrics for what you're doing and what you're accomplishing and where you've been and where you're going to, then you can fool yourself into, hey, it's just a stagnant market. You can fool yourself into, I'm doing pretty good when, really the top people are up 25 and 30%. How are they up 25 and 30% when the industry is going to be up 9%? So monitoring and knowing things about your numbers. And I know you got a pretty cool tool you want to share with everybody today that we're using at Premier. So why don't we take a look at this?
Getting started. We're just getting started with it too. So at the end of the day, we are using it, but not quite yet. I literally put the final tweaks on this last night. And I thought, man, what a great way to share, how you can track your numbers. And the cool part about this and the program that we're going to show you guys today is this is our tool at Premier. But if you don't work at Premier, I have a second tool that's available, for people in the industry as well. So we're going to share ours. And, if people do have questions or want to know how they could actually get access to a program like this, I might know a guy and, we'll give you some information on how you can get in front of us on that later on today as well. But, one of the things I want to tell you too, you're talking about, the people perceiving, negative market versus positive market. I just looked up a good friend of mine earlier today who started the industry with me years ago. And, this is somebody who, transitioned to retail and last year closed, 257 transactions for $89 million. You actually don't know this guy. This is one of the guys I used to work with. Do you think he thinks that the market's a bad market right now?
No.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't have time to worry about it.
And let me tell you something, Coach. I remember when he had no realtor partners, when he was just getting started and building that out, right? He went from a call center to one of the most mega producers in the country, right? And it's all because he believed in himself and he followed a process. And let me tell you something. I know this about him 100%. Tracked his results. So he knew what that roadmap looked like, right? So tracking is super important. And that's why we want to go into that today, because tracking is your roadmap. It lets you know where you've been, but more importantly, it lets you know where you're going. And I can tell you right now, you give me some of these numbers and I can tell you what they're going to be doing 90 days from now, because I've been doing this for 23 years. And the proof is in the numbers. It's there. It shows you exactly, what you need to see. So we're going to share this on screen. Let's see. I've never done this on the show before, so we're going to give it a shot, man. And Coach, we'll walk through this thing together. I'll talk a little bit about the details, but let's talk about why they're important. So there we go. Let me see if I can blow this up. Now, let's get rid of us. Nobody wants to see us, right?
Yeah.
There we go. Now it's full screen. I like it. So this is our Traxit. I'm sorry. This one is Premier Pulse. My other app is called Traxit that we've built. And, what we're measuring is the agent partners that we're doing business with, the conversion as to conversations that we have, to book meetings, to held meetings, lead conversions, your credit pulls to pre-approvals, to submissions, to fundings. And, of course, we want to know where we're going, right? What's that bottom dollar look like? What do we do for the year? What do we do for the month? What do we do for the week? So, what's really unique about this particular tracker is it has both an agent lead tracker and a lead tracker. So you can keep really close tabs on exactly what you're doing. But then it gives you the ability to look at your monthly results, your quarterly results, and your year-to-date results as well. So you can truly see what's happening. Now, one thing that I thought was really important with the tracker is to put in some celebrations, because one thing we know is that call reluctance is real.
Yep, it sure is.
Taking the time to outreach could get a little mundane, right? So why not celebrate that? So I've actually built features in here that celebrate. Well, 65 calls might be a little heavy, but celebrate with us as we're hitting our call results for the day, right? But what we really want to celebrate is we want to celebrate conversations, because it's not just about outreaching. Are we having meaningful conversations, right? And then are we booking things for the future, right? Are we doing face-to-face meetings and face-to-face, either in person or over Zoom? That's super important. These are things that are important in our industry. This is where conversations are held, and this is where we start to really build great relationships.
And people that aren't meeting face-to-face, or at least doing Zoom, you're not taking time to build the relationship to that next deeper level. You can't just talk to somebody and send them a link and hope that they fill it out. Why not jump on with them, say, hey, I'll let you do this. Let's jump in it together. And then you work on it.
Agreed.
Agreed. And while you're asking them questions and getting more details for your processor.
Welcome.
I think we both got muted there. I can't hear you.
How about now?
There you go.
We're back. Sorry.
We went to a commercial break.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
We are live and we are human.
This is a real show. So what are the other things we want to talk about? Sending thank you cards, right? Letting people know we appreciate them. Doing some social media posting, attending local events and hosting local events, right? So these are some of the things that we want to track. And when we're tracking, we also want to be able to see what are our peers doing, right? And I think this is pretty cool too, because it gives us the ability to look at lead production and agent performance, and you can really see who's doing what and start to compete against the people inside of your organization. So we've got both an agent tracker and we've got a lead tracker, because at the same time, we want to know what kind of fundings are we getting and what kind of volume are we doing. By the way, it'd be a great day, right? If you fund 5 loans for $2.5 million, I don't think anybody'd turn that down, right? We get our leads and our credit pulls and pre-approvals and submissions, right? And so this is our Premier Lending Tracker. And what's really cool about this, Coach, is that it doesn't just let us track our own performance, but it lets us see what everybody else is doing. And on the back end of the software, we even have admin portals so that we can go in and start building out teams. Coach, you're a recruiter here at Premier Lending. We've got Scotty here as a recruiter. I'm a market leader. John's a market leader. Heath is a manager. Kelly's a team lead. And we can literally just open these things up and we can start to look at the people on the team and what kind of performance metrics that they're actually doing, and then break that down in different formats.
what we know from the data that you just were showing everybody is there are some just absolute truths that have been truths in the industry for the last 20 or 30 years. And no matter what coaching company you've been going through, everybody is coaching a lot of the same things when it comes to building your base. And those things are, how many people are you talking to? How many referrals are you getting? How many pre-approvals are you getting? And how many of those are converting to live deals? You and I both know that if I get 5 leads, and it used to be 4, we were going to close 25% of those 4.
That's
now
right.
It seems to be 20% of the 5. We're going to close 1 of those 5 leads. So if you're trying to close 10 deals a month, you need quite a few leads coming in that door, and you've got to know how many partners, who's sending you leads, who's sending you good leads, who's sending you bad. Well, if you pull that one realtor up and you got 22 leads and you pulled 18 credit reports and you got 1 application because the rest were dogs, hey, that realtor is costing you time and money right now, and you might need to walk away nicely.
Yeah. Well, and I think another big part of it, Coach, is tracking what your activity is to get with new business partners, right? And one of the things that we coach on all the time is getting out and doing things like this, right? Like putting together webinars and having people come in and teaching and training. But B, going out and actually doing webinars, right? And we've got a lot of this stuff planned over the next year, as a company, but we're also encouraging our originators and branch managers to go out and do it as well. Coach, I know you're going to be at some of these events, and I'm going to be at some of these as well. We've got the cageless events that are going to be popping up on the East Coast first. We're going to bring some of them over here to Dallas, and they're going to come around the country where we're going to set up shop, and we're going to be helping coach agents and real loan originators, how to build a successful business in any market, right? And it's called Cageless for a reason.
Yeah, if you go to Cageless next Wednesday, the 18th, we're going to be in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm going to head down there. John Hinks and Zeddy are putting on, they're a mortgage loan officer and a real estate broker owner. And we are putting on an event in both there. And then the following day from 9 to 12 in both locations, we're going to be doing one in Raleigh, Durham. I know we have somewhere over 15 people signed up for Raleigh. And this is for any loan officer at any company. We kind of targeted a list of loan officers that are averaging 2 or 3 loans a month who would love to double their production. And a lot of people might say, why are you doing this? Well, John and Zeddy have developed this system. Again, it's one of those things where there's no original system, but they have created their own system to help people grow production. And, this is our way of giving back to the industry. And then once or twice a year, they're going to have a bigger event, like a 2-day event where we bring, speakers in from different parts of the country and different specialties within the industry. And that will be a paid event down the road. But, right now, when we go to these cities, we're trying to share our knowledge and help people grow their business.
That's it. Well, and then in addition to that, we're doing things like the MLO Live show Tuesdays and Thursdays. Scott Hudspeth and myself are hosting that. Rick, you're one of the co-hosts. We've also got John Hinks that jumps on the show as well. And bringing in great people like you mentioned earlier today, like Irene Duford, talking about her WOW training. And also, man, she just brought the heat on how to create a positive mindset in your business. I mean, honestly, we've got some really major big guests coming in next week. But this week we had Ashley Bedford talking about how she built her market, closing some of the same numbers as the gentleman I was speaking about earlier, hitting somewhere, I think it was around 272 transactions in 2025 and how she actually did that. And then next week we've got Coach Kyle Draper, who's the author of a popular series of books, Rethink Everything You Know series, right? And he's done those anywhere from social media to the mortgage business, to insurance, you name it. So he's going to be coming on the show. So, again, it's about bringing value. And so the reason we talk about this isn't just to say, hey, look what we're doing. These are things that you can do as well. And if you become well known in your marketplace as the person that's hosting these events, then that's going to help you grow your business. And these are things that you need to track. One of the things that we talk about in our coaching program is that you need to be doing a minimum of 2 events per month. Now, that could be attended or hosted. We prefer hosted for a reason, right? Because if you're the one that's hosting it, becomes one-to-many training. And that means that you're getting in front of multiple people opposed to one-to-one where you're getting in front of one person. So, the things that we really talk about tracking are your conversations. We think conversations are very important, and not just that they answered the phone. Did we have a meaningful conversations? Meetings booked are very important because our whole goal is to have 40 face-to-face meetings a month. That's what we're looking for. If we have 40 face-to-face meetings every single month, and that could be Zoom or in person, that's going to be the triggering point to help amplify your business. You want to send a minimum of 5 thank you cards out every single week, right? And if you've got opportunities like the one that we've got coming right around the corner, Valentine's Day, maybe throw a little gift in there.
And my new stamps are upstairs.
I like it.
I have mine sitting right here on the corner of my desk. I put I have a cross. I put a cross underneath 5, and I try to send them out every week. I know right now I promised somebody, my little brother's book, because I send it to everybody I know that's a pilot. And I found out somebody was a pilot, and now I've got to send them a book. So,
exactly.
And when you think about this stuff, you say, I don't have the time, or I don't have the money to do that stuff. You don't have the time or money not to do this stuff.
Amen.
I mean, we've got, look at Ferris Farage. Here is a guy running a growing company that doubled in size in the last year and planning on doubling in size again. We've rolled out the new programs that we have that are going nationwide, through our TPO division. And this guy has 1 event this week and 2 next week. So he's knocking out his 2 events basically for the month. He still maintains a personal team who, I'll admit, does 90% or more of the work. But for these events, Ferris will be at these events to support his business and his team. And if he's got time to do it, anybody can do it.
Well, let's talk about that, right? Because the reason that he can have a team that does this is because he set the blueprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
He followed the process of tracking the data and of, following a very specific sequence to going out and building the market. And then from that point, he can just pass that blueprint down to the team and say, hey, this is your playbook. This is what you have to execute. And if you do this, we're going to maintain a very solid business that can continue to grow and flourish in every single market, right? And that goes back to setting the standards for what you're going to measure, right? And then actually going out and doing it. And he and I had a conversation about this the other day. And what he said is, look, this is the goal. This is what you want, the numbers that we've talked about here on the call today. But as long as you execute at 80% of that minimum, right? Because we know we're all going to have a bad week. We might even have a bad month. We have to make sure that even if that's the case, we're still operating at 80% of what our expected values are. Because if we operate at a minimum of 80%, we're going to get the results that we're looking for. But anything less than that 80% standard, your business will fall apart. You won't see the traction that you're looking to get. And you're not going to see that shift long-term that you want to gain. So what you want to do is set your measurements, know what those measurements are, and then make sure that you execute that at a minimum of 80%. And if you have a bad week, make it up the following week so that you don't fall behind. Because if the goal is to create a scalable business that can survive in any market, tracking your statistics and having a process is 100% what's going to be necessary to make that work.
And it's holding yourself accountable. And if you're having a hard time, holding yourself accountable, then ask somebody at your company to hold you accountable. Or if you don't have that person, and give one of us a call. Maybe you need to be working with us. We'll help hold you accountable, because we do have the Call Stars show where our people are on there and they're making their calls, and we try to pump them up before they do it. We do that 5 days a week, and I've tried to be on there more and more. And while I'm making my calls in the morning, and it's one of those things where a guy like Ferris, or like these other successful people that you've mentioned, the reason they've done it is they have tracked their numbers. They know what
100%.
they're doing. They have a routine, and Ferris is one of these guys, just like you and I have been coached for years. I go all the way back to, Todd Duncan and Doug Smith and, who was the lender for life, Joe Stump. I mean, we did those guys, and now you got Neil and you've got, Mortgage Con, where they're bringing in the biggest names in the industry, and people are going to these events. And you and I both know from even when I coached, you were one of the 10% that went back and instituted what you did, and you've literally saved your business going from a call center to self-generated business. And you changed the lives of 8 to 15 loan officers, and you saved the jobs of processors and teammates who work with us now today. And if you hadn't had a model, you didn't hold yourself accountable. And I know you, the way you track your stuff, you had a great system even before you fine-tuned it after, getting some coaching. Just do what you have to do. And it doesn't have to cost anything,
Well, we talked about this the other day, and I'm going to bring it up again. And we're in an industry where people have the potential to make the money that athletes, doctors, attorneys, and lawyers make, right? I guess attorneys and lawyers are the same thing. We have that capability here, right? But the problem is that you have a lot of people that say, man, but it's so hard. Let me tell you something. The doctors and the attorneys that went to school for 8 years dedicated to do what they do, to be able to go out and practice and hold other people's lives in their hands. Literally, both of them hold lives in their hands, because attorneys can hold lives in their hands as well, right? Or you talk about the athletes that have to get up every single day and execute on the highest possible level, and then go in and practice the same thing that they're putting out there on the fields again and again and again and again, right? To get the plays right, to execute it on the highest level. There's a reason why they get paid that kind of money. And if we're in this industry, we have to take it serious. We have to take it very serious. If we want to have that ability to obtain that type of wealth, then we have to be able to come in and execute on a high level. And we owe that to the people that we serve. We owe that to the agents that we serve. We owe that to the borrowers we serve. You and I as coaches, we owe that to the people that we serve, right? And ultimately, if you're not willing to do that, then don't question why the money's not there. The money's not there because you're not putting in the reps. You're not following the process. You're not following a blueprint. You're not using a tracking system. And it's a real hard look, but we all got to do it sometimes, right? And we got to look at the man in the mirror, and we got to say, is it me? Because it might be. It might be the man in the mirror that's causing the problems for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And if we got to be the ones that take that hard slap across your face and tell you that you're not doing what you need to do to execute, then let us be that person. Let us be that guiding light, right?
And I can tell you from experience, I didn't do all these things. I just worked 10 times harder than everybody else and spent way more time. Had I had the coaching and the help that we give people now today, back when I was doing 200 units a year, back when I had a team doing, a branch doing 150 million and a team that I'd recruited doing almost $1 billion. Oh my God, I have no idea where I would have been. And I've had an incredible life. I mean, how many people have a job where you can't even talk to your family and tell them the kind of money you make, and they want to ask you? Because I had that experience standing on the backside of my pool, looking across the pool and at the back of the house back in, when my oldest graduated from high school back in like 2002. And my brother, who was living in Washington, D.C., living in a tri-level that he paid $580,000 for, because I did the VA loan on it. He's looking at my house and he leans over and says to me, he goes, man, how can you afford a $2 million house? And I'm like, $2 million? My house cost $100,000 or $200,000 less than yours. Yeah. And he just couldn't believe it, because he had been living in, Arlington, Virginia and Falls Church, Virginia. And, tri-levels were $500,000 up there. In fact, when they sold theirs, like about 10 years later, the person bought it for whatever the price was, and they tore it down and built a McMansion. So, we're in a very interesting industry, where we can give our families lifestyles that are unbelievable. And you don't have to work the kind of hours that we did back then, because there's so many tools available now today that can help you do it in half the time, or even less.
And if you're measuring your results and you're tracking your results and you're following a process, at the end of the day, you're going to have that ability to work less hours because you've built a successful business model that can sustain itself. But it takes time to do that. And that's one thing that I always like to encourage, is that if you're not there yet, you may have a hard road in front of you, but if you just take the time to do it and just execute a little bit better every single week, a little bit better every single month, by the end of the year, you're going to turn around, you're going to look backwards, and you're going to go, this is where I went. And if you're tracking those results, you're going to be able to watch that as it grows, and you'll be able to go, man, look right here, I did this, and look what happened to my business as a result of it. And here I did this, and oh, wow, look what happened here as well. So all we're saying is execute on a high level, get a little bit better every single day. You may have to literally roll up the sleeves and get to work in the beginning. But once you do that, you start tracking your results and you build this amazing process, you'll be able to take your foot off the gas at some point in time and look backwards and have a team and a business that ultimately runs itself. And we've seen this happen time and time again.
Oh, yeah.
And you have that ability to do it too. So
I used to tell people 3 years to build a business. And that was without the tracking. That was without social media. That was without any of the tools we have today. I am thoroughly convinced that if you dive in, you put the time in, you utilize the tools that are out there, social media, texting, phone calls, tracking. I believe you can build a business in less than 2 years, in as short as 18 months, that gives you a lifestyle you can't believe. And for some people, 3 loans a month could be a major change in their life. But we know that it's harder to go from 1 to 5 loans in growth than it is to go from like 6 to 12.
Amen.
Because a lot of this stuff duplicates efforts for you that you're not always doing it yourself. And once you start doing some business, there are ways to bring in assistants, loan officer assistants, virtual assistants, to take some of this stuff off your plate that you can go. And that's how you go from 5 to 12.
Well, I think it's more than that too, Coach, because I think another thing starts to happen is you build a process that amazes, right? You're tracking your statistics to get where you want to go. What's going to happen is the people that you serve are going to start to see the level that you're operating, right? The quality of the service that you're providing. And they're going to start to realize that they can't operate without your service, right? And this is how you build great relationships with the agents that you want to work with, because if you're showing them the high level at which you do business, you're showing them that you take the time to fully pre-approve your files and get your clients ready to go before they ever go out, and even start showing them properties, so that when the contracts come in, these clients go to the closing table and they close on time. And they know that when you hand them a pre-approval letter, it's as good as gold, and that there's not going to be delays on the back end because you took your time to cross your T's and dot your I's up front so that that client is ready to roll. Your agents are going to want to come back again and again and again and again, and they're going to want to bring all their friends too, because they know when they work with you, they're working with a true professional, somebody who's going to get it done, and they're going to have the confidence to hand off their commission to you and say, I trust in you, Rick Koenig, because I know the way you do business, and I don't want to take my business anywhere else because I want my clients to get the best of what they deserve. So I think we're going to leave it at that today, Coach, because I know we're right here at wrap time. Guys and gals, thank you for coming back every single week. You can find Coach and I here every Thursday at 11:30-ish.
And message us if you want that tracker.
Message us if you want access to the tracker. If you're on any of our platforms, just comment there and we'll make sure that we get in front of you. We'll send you a link to a calendar or just a link directly to the tracker. Just let us know if you want the goods. And keep checking us out. We are going to be live on Tuesdays and Thursdays on the MLO Live Show with Scott Hudspeth, John Hinks Jr. And then we've also got a podcast that I just started with John Hinks. It'll air again tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's Friday, 1 p.m. Where you're catching it right now, it'll be right here. So if you're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you'll be able to find us on any of those channels tomorrow at 1 p.m. And what John and I are going to be talking about, and John and I are your mortgage giants. If you can't tell, I'm 6'4", John's 6'8". This is not John. This is Coach Rick. He is not 6'4". No. But if you want to check John and I out tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central on any of those channels, we're going to be talking about new agents and whether you should go and actually try to work with them or not. And is it a myth that you shouldn't work with new agents? Or should you be working with new agents? If you want to know some facts on that, John's going to bring some statistics. It's going to be a great show. And he's actually going to show some examples of people that he's helped grow their business. So we're going to do myth or fact happening tomorrow on the Mortgage Giants at 1 p.m. So we'll see you on that one. Until the next time, you have a great. You've been watching Loan Officer Success Live, where real strategies meet real success. Don't forget to subscribe now and share it with your teammates and keep leveling up, because your next breakthrough starts here. If this fired you up, don't just watch success, go out there and build it.